Welcome to another episode of the Doctors and Dollars podcast, where we discuss health insights and wealth secrets. I'm your host, Nate Crannell, joined today by doctors Dayo and Mudupe Adeyefa. Dayo is an anesthesiologist and Dupe is a breast radiologist in the Houston area. Since getting their medical degrees, Dayo from Howard and Dupe from Morehouse, they have brought four wonderful kids into this world, grown their deep faith with God, and have impacted thousands of lives with their work. Welcome to Doctors and Dollars podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us.
You bet.
Very generous intro.
Very generous. I was like 1,000. Wow, I feel so special.
I'm sure you've been 1,000.
I really probably have.
I'm sure 1,000.
Absolutely. I mean, you were just telling me offline, you in an 8-hour day, you're just looking at scans, talking to people. I mean, you're impacting the patient's life, but think of their spouse, their kids. I mean, thousands. I pluralize that. It's weird.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And plus, you guys have been going at it at least a decade now, right?
Yes. Me graduated residency a decade ago, actually. And so, yeah, it's been a decade plus, practicing anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
Me too. So, yeah, we're getting up there. We're no longer newcomers anymore. So,
Newbies.
We're not newbies anymore.
There you go. And I had to throw your kids in there. Obviously, before we started this thing, I did a little Facebook research. As all the prestigious research is done through Mark Zuckerberg's platforms. But you guys have four beautiful kids. Put them in a magazine, put them on a Target billboard, do something.
Oh, nice. Don't tell them that, though. They really.
Well, a lot of times we joke about that behind the scene, and we say we have no idea what we were thinking or what we're doing.
Yeah. 4 kids, we had no idea it was going to be. With the 2 physician career and a very busy lives, we did not know that 4 kids would come with its own responsibilities. We were 4 on both sides. I had siblings and he had siblings, so there were 8 in total. So I guess in our mind, being the first to get married, we're like, yeah, 4 kids, no problem. That's the norm. Who has 2?
Yeah.
11 years later. It's been.
And you guys. Yeah, and you guys, you waited till after you graduated, right? Or did you guys do it, start having a family like in school?
Yeah, we got married a week after I graduated medical school. So I graduated medical school with my maiden name, and a week later I had to switch it over to Adeyefa here. So we got married. We got married a week later, and we started having kids probably like 2 years after. So I had 3 in training. I had 2 in residency and 1 as a fellow, and then the last one was probably a year or 2 into working, So yeah, it was busy. It was.
Talk to me about that balance. Like, I cannot imagine, like, I had 3 kids just in a corporate job, right? Last one, before I became a financial advisor, was our last kid was born. And so I kind of dodged all that. But how do you go through residency and fellowship and starting attending? How do you do that with kids?
Well, I think that, part of that is ignorance, like you were talking about earlier. Right? We had no idea. Ignorance is bliss, they said. We had no idea. Matter of fact, one of the kids, funny story, of course we planned, it was planned the first kid, we prayed for, waited for her, had her first year of her radiology residency. But our second was not planned, one of those oops moments,
Same. Same.
So we were 9 months, our daughter was 9 months old when we discovered that we were pregnant with our son, who came about a year and a half later, about 9 months later. But I would never forget, and this is the funny story that we have, is that she would page me. Back then we had still pagers in the hospitals, and she never does. She never pages me. And so I was scared. I was very anxious when I got a page from her. I'm like, what's happening? Is this an emergency of some sort? And then I call her back and she says, I'm pregnant. And she just, were you crying when you said that? She was crying.
She was crying. Of course I was crying. I just had the first baby and I had to go to my program director. I'm having a baby. I only took 6 weeks the first time, so that I wouldn't be that resident that made everybody else's life uncomfortable. So I took 6 weeks maternity leave. I got back to work, and then 9 months later, I have to go back, and it was the dread of going back to that same program director Yeah, I'm having a sec. I mean, it was just that was just a lot. It was
Yeah,
a
for sure.
lot. It
Yeah.
was a lot. I can see when I think about the moment and what I went through with those kids. I'm so grateful now they're older, and it's been a journey. But man, I cannot tell you when you ask about balance.
Right.
I don't really know what that means. It was a journey. It was just a journey, and we didn't always know what was going to happen. We didn't have a lot of money. We're both residents. Um, but we were both doing it together. We had family.
That was what I
That
was
was
going
the
to say
key,
next.
is
Exactly. Family.
family. His mother like lived with us for the first 9 months and did
Yeah.
everything, took the night shifts and day shifts, and
Right.
we had lots of my mom, my dad, everybody was just all on board.
Yeah.
So we had a huge support
So what
system.
we lacked in money, we had a lot of resources in family.
Yeah,
On both sides.
Perfect.
At one
yeah.
point, her younger sister
Stay the summer.
stayed the whole entire summer,
Yeah,
post college.
for my second child, the one that I
And
cried about.
so we just had a lot of family support, and
Yeah.
what we lacked in money, we definitely were rich in
Yeah,
family for sure.
we
That helped us
had
a great
a.
deal.
That's really what it is. It's
Yeah,
like you can't do this by yourself.
for
Like if
sure.
I don't think we're allowed. We're supposed to be raising kids by ourselves. I think if you have the luxury of having family and a support system, it
Yeah,
really did make it a lot easier for us. And luckily, we're the first to have kids, so that
the excitement
and the excitement was still fresh with the
on both
kids.
sides.
But now both sides, they got like 13 on one and 13 on the other side. It's like, oh, like they're like, fill up grandbaby, So like
Yeah,
we're tired, But for us,
it
we're
was
still able to get
good.
all the grandparents and
Very
family
intense,
support.
yeah, very intense family support. So that
Yeah,
was very helpful.
that was definitely what helped us.
Yeah,
That's all. I mean, there's no way around that, right? I mean, like you said, lack of money. You're still making money, but we all know in residency, you're making a tiny sliver of what you make probably what you're making now. But it what you don't get is you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars a week to a daycare center per
Yeah.
kid, right? You didn't have to do that. So family was huge. That's awesome. Have you had to return the favor? Since siblings started having kids, have you had to kind of jump in and help out, or is it like, nah, we're past that? We were kind of the trailblazers.
not
Now that you
yet.
just said that, I was like, I
Oops.
should do a better job.
Well, hopefully they don't watch this because they're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna.
Podcast.
But we have said that when our kids are starting to get a little older,
Yeah.
like in the preteens, so we say, hey, listen, we'll send them over.
You could have my kids.
You
They
can
could
have our
babysit your
kids. They come
kids.
babysit your
Your
kids.
kids for you.
And
And
yeah, so
yeah, because what has happened, I think also like as our kids have gotten older, it's a different kind of parenting with them. They have way more homework. They have sports, they have lessons, and so they like it's even more. It's like a different kind of work. It's still hard work, and of course we're still working, so we have a lot of responsibilities. But yeah, we definitely could do a better job.
a payback.
But the problem is there's so many of
I
them.
know.
We
Well,
have so many
it's so
nieces and
interesting
nephews.
though that some of our siblings actually do believe they deserve a payback.
Yeah.
Particularly her younger sister. I have to call her out on that. And one of our kids, she told one of our kids, "Hey, listen, you owe me. I was there for you when you were a baby." And they were like, "How much you gonna pay me?" And she was
Yeah.
like, "I'm not paying you a dime. $5 an hour. $5 an hour."
My
Yeah,
kids are negotiating.
negotiating
They're
her with the
like,
dollars.
$5
And so
an
we
hour.
thought that was hilarious. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that pans out.
I
Yeah.
love that. So yeah, my sister had twins back in February, and that's my only sibling. And then my wife has two sisters who are both pregnant right now. So she's
Wow.
planning their baby showers, and they were the sisters that we just thought they'd never have kids, right? And one even said, I don't think I'm ever gonna have kids. And all of a sudden they're both pregnant at the same
Oh,
time. But they were all the babysitters when my kids were young. My oldest is 9,
oh, wow.
and when they were the ones babysitting our kids. And so now we're getting to the point. It's like once my in-laws' kids are getting in that babysitting age, I'll just pawn my 9-year-old daughter out. By that time she'll be 12, 13 years old. I'll be like, yeah, listen,
Exactly.
I know you want payback for watching my kids, but I'm just gonna have my oldest do it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because I mean, they have a lot more in common, So I think it would just be best.
I think that's what we're going to probably do.
Probably, yeah. So that's
That's
good.
awesome.
Big family.
You bet. Well, you guys said you each had 4 siblings. You got eight on each side. Tell me a little bit about where you guys grew up. Tell me about the background there.
I can start. I'm the second of four. I have an older brother. My family is originally Nigerian. My dad immigrated to the United States in the late 70s, early 80s, got a scholarship to attend pharmacy school at the University of Cincinnati.
Mm.
And so I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and raised in Cincinnati for the first 4 or 5 years of my life. And then my dad got a job in Atlanta, Georgia, that's where my family, my dad and my mom and my siblings still currently live. There was some movement from time to time from Atlanta to Nigeria and back, but currently they live in Atlanta, and Atlanta is,
where we met.
where we would meet.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of four, and I was born in Nigeria, and my family won the visa lottery. That's what they call it back then. And so my dad, he was a physician. He's still a physician in Nigeria. So him and his entire family were given automatic green cards when we came to America, and that's 1996, Clinton era. I remember that. And so we've been together pretty much, and we moved to Pittsburgh initially. I finished high school in New York, and then moved to Georgia for college. So I went to UGA, and
By the way, her dad would go back to residency.
Yeah, he had to go back to residency when he came back to
wow.
America. And start all over, at least, take his exams. And then within 2 years or so, he finished his residency, and then he moved to Atlanta for a job from New York because he finished his residency in New York City. So after that, he got a job in Atlanta. All of us moved to Atlanta, and they waited for me to finish high school so that we could move. And I ended up going to University of Georgia, which I never heard of before until my dad moved there. And Mom was like, "Hey, they have Hope Scholarship. It's free tuition if you go here." And they made the choice for me. So I ended up going to the University of Georgia, which I loved. It was a great institution.
Yeah, go Dogs.
Yeah, I know,
go
right?
Dogs. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I love UGA. UGA was amazing. One of the best kept secret at that time. I mean, it was just a great institution. And I think through then we met my fourth year in college.
Right.
So, yeah, we've been together since then.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, just now that we just narrated that, is one of the common threads behind both of our stories. And again, our parents didn't know each other, even though they have similar background. My dad always had aspirations to be in a position, but he never was able to do it. But, pharmacy is what he had opportunity to do. But, just economic condition moved him to Atlanta. And similar with her dad, different years, different time spaces. But my dad worked as a pharmacist. We retired, a few years ago. Her dad worked as a physician. We're still trying to get him to retire.
You might be thinking about it.
And just that common background of having immigrant parents who had professional aspirations and pursued that despite their older age, just gave us the ability to see our father do the same thing. Now that we just said that, I don't know what I thought about. I'm sure we've had that conversation before about the pathway that our fathers led for us and how we were both inspired by them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
still.
Yeah, I think I wanted to be a physician because I saw him do it as a kid. I always knew I always wanted to be a physician. And so watching him go to clinic, I used to go to clinic with him back home in Nigeria and see what he did and how he loved his patient care deeply. And he really loved medicine. And the man loved medicine. Yeah. And so I think growing up with that passion, when we moved to America, he was very supportive. My mom also was very supportive in the whole process. Even to picking my specialty, I always say that, because he was a physician and he's done it before and he knows me as a person. He was like, "You should try radiology." I'm like, "Really? Yeah, try it." Yeah. And I'm glad I did. I am so glad I did.
And similarly, my dad, being a pharmacist, had a role to play in my even being an anesthesiologist because he got a job at the pharmacy tech in the hospital setting, and he used to take me to the hospital, and I got a chance to be in the pharmacies. And one of the things that I saw very early on, even as a young college student, was all the drugs that I use today, whether it be morphines and propofol, got to see them. I had no idea what they were for. And so by the time I got to med school and became a decision as to what to pursue, anesthesia seemed like a comfortable choice because I had a lot of exposure to the pharmacology component of it. And so, it's incredible the influence that they both had on both of our lives. Separately and even now together.
Yeah, they're still very present
in
our lives. We're so blessed to have them.
Yeah, for sure.
maybe a deep question, but them having such a profound impact on you guys being younger, Dupe, you talked about going to clinic with them and seeing that. Same thing with you, Dayo. Do you feel like you guys are have some level of that same impact on your kids? I don't want you to start making a conscious effort to make an impact on them.
No.
But do you feel like that is something that do you catch them kind of watching you and asking questions and things like that?
But indirect, not as direct, because I haven't taken my kids to the hospital, and neither have you. But they're surrounded by it.
They're surrounded. I don't like so. All of my siblings are physicians. So there are four of us. All of us are doctors, and then your brother is a doctor. And my sister's a pharmacist. And so it's like in their mind, I don't think they know
anything else.
A lot of other options. So my daughter, my oldest, she still wants to be OBGYN. Blood does not bother her. My son wants to be a radiologist because he thinks the lifestyle is amazing. And my other brother's a radiologist too. Like, they both have to I want that one. So
he initially wanted to be like daddy and be an anesthesiologist, but he thinks I work too hard. So now he wants to be like,
I want to be a radiologist. I don't want to work this hard. So they already kind of like, they talk about it. And I mean, even today, my son was like, oh, don't worry, mom will be a doctor. I'm like, okay, if you say so.
And so I think I think that we want to probably do a better job of making sure we expose them to other things. Because like all they can see is medicine. So we probably should do a good job of saying, okay, there are other things outside of medicine as well.
Right? I'm okay with that.
So we'll see. I think we have one daughter who's like, maybe she might be a dentist or something.
No, that one does not want to touch blood. She does not like anything. So we already know she might go into dentistry.
Or something else.
Or something else altogether. Or a scientist. We really don't know. We're not enforcing it. Right. I think our job as parents is just to see what they're passionate about, just passionate, what they're good at.
Yeah, sure.
You could be passionate about something, but like you're really good at it, you're dedicated to it, and our job is to nurture them and help them, steward them well to whatever God wants them to do.
For sure.
It wouldn't be because I'm a doctor, you have to be a doctor.
Because we've seen the doctors. And we know what that looks like to go to work and not be happy about what you do, or even not be good at what you do. And so we definitely don't want to be those parents that say you must be a doctor because of the status or the prestige. We recognize that they can make an impact and do much good in the world outside of medicine. But if they do decide to go into medicine, we'll definitely
it'll be an easier route.
Welcome it and encourage them along the way.
It would be easier for us to help them because we've already been through the journey. But if they choose another pathway, I will be there to support them.
For sure.
Yeah. I love what you said there. I think that's really important for any parents listening to this, is that they should be good at something. Like they should follow their passions and what they really like, but they should also be good at it. I mean, like LeBron James probably wanted to be, a radiologist also, but he's just really good at basketball. So it's like, hey, let's go. Let's take you to the basketball. Right? You just never know, right? So I think it's important to ask them. I'm sure your parents asked you the same thing, like, hey, what do you want to do? As you get 15, 16 years old, and there's kind of that, where do you want to go to college? What do you want to study? What's kind of your next steps in life? I think it's very important as parents to figure out what our kids like to do, but also figure out what they're really good at.
Yeah, that's good.
That's super important. You bet. Tell me a little bit about as you guys are starting a family, getting through residency, and this even goes back to your kids, because even going through medical school and residency, that's just not easy. Right? Your son might look at mom and be like, yeah, she's got a pretty easy job. I want that lifestyle, but it's super hard. Talk to me about the financial struggles as you guys are getting out of medical school. It sounds like undergrad was free for both of you, or at least for Dupe, but as you make that decision, you're going into medicine, you're going to go through medical school and residency and fellowship and all the things. Talk to me financially what that weight feels like as you're getting ready to take on that burden of student loans, for example.
Well, it's funny because, when I first graduated residency, and of course, Dupe was almost done, radiology was a much longer process. We have this joke that we go meet with a financial planner, financial advisor. And when they put all of our numbers on the screen on the board, we were broke. We had a negative net worth in the six figures,
Unfortunately, I've been the guy on the other side of the desk that's saying, "Hey, look at your guys' finances."
Yeah,
So sorry,
exactly.
yeah, sorry.
Exactly.
I've been that guy. It's never it's not fun on my side either. I promise you, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
She had a smile on her face when she was telling us that. Well, guys, don't worry. You're gonna be just fine. You're gonna be fine. I'm like, you sure? It's a lot of money. How
There's
am
a
I
lot
gonna
of
pay this
debt
off?
because not only did we have six-figure like loans from both of us, she had her six-figure loan, I had my six-figure
Yep.
loans. We
Mm-hmm.
also had credit card debt,
Hmm.
significant credit card debt. And so
Yeah.
to suffice it to say, it was not a pretty outlook, at least at
Yeah.
the very, very beginning. And so, but we had a plan, and then we also understood that this was going to be something we had to take. I like the word she used. It was going to be a journey. It wasn't
Hmm.
going to be a sprint. It was going to be a marathon. It was going to be a journey. So we had to learn early on to take the long range view, and it's funny because we did buy a house when we first got married. Nothing too expensive. It was a decent sized home. Um, but once we graduated residency and she graduated with her fellowship, we stayed in that same house
There you
for
go.
years. And that the decision was already made beforehand because we already knew that we had a plan with a plan in place, and we knew that we had a long range plan to go by. And so part of that plan was working our way through that debt, building an emergency fund and all that good stuff, and eventually saving up money to put down payment on another home. But it was certainly it took years, years, not just during residency, even post residency, years before we
Oh
finally
yeah.
began to see the light of the road.
Yeah, I think we saw this in the light this year.
Well,
Well, I mean, I think we finally, because a lot happened in that span that he's talking about. Of course, we didn't have any student loans when we entered into
medical
residency,
school.
into medical school. We didn't have any. And of course, medical school, we didn't work. So everything was paid through loans. And then we got married like a week after. So if you add that plus everything else, we came out pretty hefty with our loans. And then, with the kids, we had 3 kids at the same time. So that loan just kept that,
Two
that
years after each other.
2 years. Like, so within
Hmm.
5 years, I have like
Three kids.
3 or 4 kids
Yeah,
in 5 years.
3 kids in 5
Yeah,
years.
3 kids in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so that in itself piled on. At some point, we needed to get a nanny. It was just a lot. But like you said, we had a great financial planner who really walked us through the whole process, and she gave us an idea of what we're supposed to do, the milestone, pay this off, and of course, put money down for his partnership track. I mean, it was just a lot. We worked really hard. He worked really hard for the first couple of years when he just trying to get in the partnership track. So it was a journey, but we had a plan.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
you said, God was faithful to us through the whole process because we cut everything down, student loans gone, paid the money down for this
All that stuff we're
house.
supposed to do, the 401k,
Yeah, 401k,
disability
529,
insurance,
disabilities. We
529s.
did everything.
Yeah, the whole.
The
The whole
200 books behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, 200 books behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have those 4 kids, and they didn't get cheaper, by the way. They got
Yeah.
more
No,
expensive. Because,
they don't.
yeah, they do not get cheaper. But we're, so far so good. Everything as the plan she had for us. She used to call us a good student. I'm like, what do you mean we're good students? So whatever she tell us to do, we stuck with it like this. We didn't even look outside of that box.
Yeah.
But it's helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I mean, anybody can draft up a plan. I've designed hundreds of plans for people, but then there's planning, but then there's also the execution. Like everybody needs motivation to execute, right? Even in your guys' jobs today, you wake up, you got to have some motivation to go out and execute, on a day-to-day basis. What do you think was that driving force for you guys to execute the plan that your financial planner put together? Was it the kids? Was it the 6 figures of debt? Was it the legacy? Getting that next house, being able to build a beautiful bookshelf behind you. I joke about it, but what was it?
I do think that one of the things that I've heard Dupa mention early on is to use the language of stewardship, and I think that is definitely something that's very core to our identity in terms of who we are as people, as believers, as people who follow Jesus. We recognize that everything we have is a gift. It's what we've given this, not because we're owners of it, including our kids. We're stewards of them, And so I think that we wanted to be just good stewards. We just wanted to be good stewards. And that meant not only saving and investing for the future in 50401ks, it also meant generosity. It meant even our financial planner knew that every year we had a budget of how much we're going to give away. We planned that out at the top of the year, not from in the religious sense of the word, but just in the sense of this is core to who we are in terms of our values, is that we want to be good stewards. And I think that still guides us to this day, that even as we work, we want to say, okay, in light of how much it is that we earn, how are we being good stewards of this? Yes, as she alluded to earlier, we paid off our school loans and we're still saving, but we want to be able to say, okay, we did well with it. We stewarded it well, not just with our money, but with our gifting, with our talents, with our children, with everything, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that's definitely part of it. It's like, no matter how much we make, we ask ourselves at the end of the year, I'm always thinking, did we give enough? Did we overspend? Did I DoorDash a lot? Because I DoorDash quite often. And so I'm like, this is not good.
And I have to be the one to say, hey, listen, you work very hard.
Yeah, he has to remind me. If I go shopping, I have to be like, ugh, did I overspend? Which I probably do sometimes. But it's okay to indulge a little bit, because I think sometimes when you've been in debt for a long time, even just buying yourself something, you kind of feel guilty, like I'm not sure. So I think for sure, just being good steward of what we're making and making sure we're saving enough for our family, for our kids, giving, are all important. And we wanted to have the freedom to be able to do that and not be worried about what we owe, I mean, when we were in debt for so long, I just felt like there was a weight over my head. I just felt it just wasn't comfortable. And so that made us really aggressive and cutting a lot of things down. So if we got any extra bonuses, we just want to cut the debt down, cut the debt down, cut the debt down. And so finally, when it was our financial advisor this year, we were finally in the positive. So it was very, very encouraging to see that all those hard work paid off. And literally, when the loans were paid off, it felt like a weight was lifted. And I think that gave a lot of confidence, even for Dayo to go locums, because we didn't have to have our student loans looming over our head, and we had other debt still looming. And I think that in itself is an incentive to keep going and to be very, very good stewards. We don't want to go back there or having to worry about what I owe. You
guys are such great human beings. For stewardship to be your first thought, whether it be charity, church, planning for your kids' kids. That's kudos to you guys. Well, I mean, plenty of doctors in the family, and it sounds like some future doctors coming. So make them plan for their own kids.
Exactly. I'm going to give you the nice setup. You guys can take it on from here. Okay.
We'll see what happens.
So you guys had a great financial plan. Talk to me about career plan. As you guys had a couple years of staggered from, Dayo getting out of residency, Dupe, you going through residency and coming out. There's a couple years gap in there. Talk to me about the career path that you guys took, as there was now the debt hanging over you, as there's 3 out of the 4 kids already here with us. Was there a career path that kind of led you guys on to say, okay, I need to do this and then go here and then move here for us to be able to get to that point where that weight of our, the loans is off our shoulders, we've saved, we've become depositors, was there a career path along that way?
Well, and I think that we want to maximize our career path,
okay, great.
What opportunity given for us. For me, being a private practice anesthesia, for me, that meant becoming a partner in that particular organization. And so what that meant for me was I'm going to work hard enough and hopefully demonstrate enough competence and capacity to become a partner in this set organization, because being a partner in that organization was the most financially rewarding opportunity. Now, obviously, it meant that you worked a lot more, but I was willing to pay that price. I wanted to maximize that career opportunity. I think likewise for Madupa, I think she had a pathway to partnership in her organization, and she did the exact same thing. Like you point out, though, I came out 2 years ahead of her because she did a fellowship, I did not. And
anesthesia was 4 years.
Anesthesia is 4 years. Radiology with the fellowship, it's about 6. And so I had 2 years ahead to set the pathway and go out there and work and start building the 401k process. And so I would say almost for at least the first almost 8-9 years, And because again, we had another kid, and when she was in her second year
Yeah, my second year of working.
of her being an attendant. And so that comes with its drawbacks of taking maternity leave and income, shortage as well. And so I think that for the first at least 8 years, that was me, kind of leading the charge.
Yes.
Uh, but what was interesting though is that as I'm leading the charge this way, as she's coming, she kind of meets us up and surpasses at some point. And
Yeah.
and then when that meeting process happened, and it so happened at the same time where all of our debt began to be gone away. And so this is what I guess maybe I might be jumping ahead of the gun to say I think she mentioned it earlier. Then it became okay. Well, we don't have our school loans anymore, our debt anymore. Do I still need to continue to work 60, 70 hours a week, be not present at home, and continuing that pathway? And so then that triggered another conversation. Again, going back to that word of stewardship, what is the best use of our time, particularly as it has to do with our kids and all the other stuff that we have going in our lives? Do we really need to continue to go and charge, where, we've already kind of met some financial goals, met these career goals. Now, how about we prioritize and say, what's the most important in this season?
Right.
Yeah. Talk to me about that conversation when you guys, you had that apex point where you both were, from an income standpoint, it sounds very similar, but at the same time, there's kind of a downvergence of your guys' debt. Perfect timing. Talk to me about that conversation where it's like, okay, how do we prioritize our kids now? How do we prioritize, our time with church and other things that we're passionate about and charities and things like that? How did that conversation go, and who was the first to raise their hand to say, yeah, I'll step back a little bit? Hey everyone, I wanted to take a moment to talk about what I do outside of being the host of the Doctors and Dollars podcast. I'm the CFO of Grand Vision Capital Group. At Grand Vision, we work with high-income earners who make a great living, but still can't quite break through that true wealth ceiling. We utilize strategically chosen investments tailored for high-income earners. The question always at the forefront of our minds is, why wait for retirement to finally live when you can implement an investment strategy that will impact your life today? To be honest, most of the people we work with never even knew these options existed because their financial planner doesn't have access to these exclusive investments. So, if you're ready to finally turn your high income into real wealth, visit our website, www.grandvision.co, and hit the Take Action button in the top right corner to schedule some time with me. Or even better, follow me on any of my social media accounts, shoot me a message. Now, back to the show.
I think I volunteered him.
I got volunteered.
Yeah, he was voluntold. I was like, okay. I think what happened was, I like you said, and he was the one that was working a whole lot in the beginning because he started earlier, and then he went on a partnership track, and I became a partner, and they were working long hours. But then again, we have 4 kids, and I'm also working. And I think maybe in the last year or 2, we had like double maternity leaves in my practice, and so I had to step up and kind of cover more sites. And I think I was driving a lot and picking the kids up, dropping them off in school some days, coming up with homeworks, projects, and he will also be working late, coming home late at like 80 hours, work 60, I don't know, just a lot of hours. And I think one day I was just like, I think I can't do this. I think we need to really reevaluate what we're doing. Like, when all our student loans are paid off and all we have is our mortgage and our kids, like, we don't need to work quite as hard as we used to anymore.
Right.
And also the church came in as well, and he's a lead pastor, and he has to prepare sermons every week. And people are calling, people want premarital counseling. Some people want advice on certain things. It was just impossible to work at the same pace that we were working.
Right.
So it kind of came down to between the 2 of us. He had way more hours at work than I did. I mean, my best days, I work 40 hours a week. Best days, best weeks, So no matter what I'm doing, my hours are still pretty good, predictable.
Right.
No weekends, hardly any nights. Actually, I don't have any nights. So compared to him, he has to be overnight, you know. So it was just more like, okay, let's look at our numbers and see what we can do. And so him stepping down for now is just a way for us to have more of his time. And so now when he comes home, I can actually maybe cook dinner while he's doing homework with the kids, or maybe I'm doing project and he's doing the written part with it. Yesterday was a really good, funny part. Yeah, we had to do a project on the Grinch, and I didn't know I had artistic skills, but we drew the Grinch. The girls colored green with me, and then he took my daughters away and helped write the written part. So we kind of divide and conquer now, and whereby honestly my stress level is a lot less. And he's able to be more, available for the kids too, which is just amazing.
Yeah, I knew it was a win-win last night. She said, "Man, we make a really great team."
Yeah,
that's what she said.
We do, yeah.
And I know that you know this just as much as well as I do. Oftentimes we talk a little bit about, obviously men are doing a whole lot more than they were doing a generation ago, right? In terms of domestic abilities, but still, the statistics show that the professional woman still bears more of the domestic responsibilities.
Yep.
And so this is an opportunity for me to sort of like kind of help mitigate that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's been great to be present, to be home. And my son, has decided to pick up basketball. I get to drive him to the tryouts. And, like she said earlier, get to be there present for the kids' homework. I probably spend more time with the kids in the homework now than she does.
Yes, I do not.
And so I think that it's been interesting because it's as though it's been like a dance. We talk again, we internally have this conversation about like a dance in the sense that in the earlier phase, where there was the birthing phase and the nurturing phase of the earlier time, she stayed home, and while I went craziness with the workouts. And now the kids are going into this new season where they're no longer babies anymore. They need more coaching, right? And it's like, okay, I can probably come up, And so that this ability to be able to dance and say who takes the lead, who steps back, without any kind of sense of being locked in traditional roles, but saying what is the most important thing in this season and who's best equipped to do it. And I think that that's really what gave us the answer to say, you know what, even though I joke and say she volunteered me,
it was an easy decision.
It was an easy decision. It made the most sense to say, I can still do what I do, work locums or per diem, if you will, that grants a lot more flexibility. And she can continue to do what she does as well because she loves what she does. But it allows us both to be able to do what we love, but at the same time prioritize what's most important to us, which for sure family definitely is on top of the list.
Yeah. And I think to say it out loud, like we are privileged to be able to have that. I mean, not everybody gets to have that opportunity, So we do feel very privileged that we both have lucrative incomes that we can both dial in, dial back, and do what's needed at that season. So I know it's not going to be, the answer for a lot of people.
It might not be possible for some people.
It might not be possible for a lot of people, but for our journey, we've had to learn to kind of do that dance. Like, okay, will you do this while I do this, and then when it's time, because at the end of the day, we have one pocket, so. It doesn't really matter where it's coming from. We have
I think that's a great point to mention that we do. I know because we serve in church capacity, we recognize and we do a lot of premarital counseling. We recognize that different people have different ways in which they manage their money, and different people have ways in which they, as couples, what some people have, joint accounts, some people don't have joint accounts. For us, being that we've always had this, even when we were broke, the fact that now that we have money doesn't matter. We've always had this dance where somebody takes the lead on managing money. It doesn't really matter who's making more, who's making less. So I agree with her that it's definitely a privilege. It's a privilege also of a dual income household. I know a lot of my partners who looked at me like, man, I really wish I could do what you're doing right now, but I can't. I'm the primary breadwinner. And so I think it definitely, I love the fact that you brought that up. It's a privilege.
It's a privilege to do it.
We're grateful for that.
What a beautiful answer from both of you. Those are really good. I don't know if you guys like rehearsed or if this was just like you guys have there's like a similar. You guys got like the same wavelength. That was beautiful. This is going to be a deep question then. because you talked about your kids, you talked about, hey, you know, who can take the primary role right now in whatever season of life we're in. What has paying down the debt, being able, Dayo, for you to be able to step back from the partnership role and go more independent, what has that meant for your marriage?
Great question. I think that it's been a great thing for a marriage.
Mhm.
Being more present. I feel that, we joke about this, as well. It almost seemed as though in that season of overwork that I was sleepwalking. We're
Mhm.
just surviving, just getting things done. But the emotional sensitivity was dulled. And I think that being a little bit more present, being a little bit more less sleep deprived, obviously,
Mhm.
allowed me to be able to be just more emotionally available, not just for her, but for the kids. And as she mentioned earlier, because now her stress level, she said this recently, she said, I can't
I
even
can't
imagine
imagine how I did
how
it.
I did it for so long. How did I do this for so long? And I said that yesterday. I said, how, I can't even imagine how you would have done this because we have 4 kids and they all have their different projects, and she's cooking dinner. It just, and so yesterday was a perfect example. And again, reason why it seems to her is because of the life we live. It is just what it is. I'm saying I really can't cook really well. I wish I could tell you I could, but I can't.
Hey,
You know,
I thought you were taking over some primary roles in the household, not these.
yeah, not
Come
We would
that.
not
on,
let him
you need to step up.
not let him cook for us.
And she wouldn't let me do it anyway.
I would be the one grilling, and he would just be sitting there keeping me company. That's how much he doesn't cook.
Right. No, no, I could probably do everything else but that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, sure.
she did all the cooking, but at least I'm able to say I got the kids for the homework. I got
Yeah.
this part. Like we worry about that. I got the kids. I'm not sure if my kids like the fact that I got them for the homework. Maybe they do or not, but I don't know. But I got them anyway. And so, but how she did that for so long is I don't know how she did it. And so I think that it is allowed her to be less stressed. And if she's less stressed, then of course the marriage, I think, is more fruitful. So I think it's been great for the marriage. I personally think so. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, not when I think, you're right. When I think about what I've done in the last, I can't even say 10 years of just having children, working, it has been a very stressful 10 years. And of course, with him working, and every time we talk a lot, we've always been we communicated very well. So even through the whole time while he was busy working a lot, we definitely spoke a lot. But every time he called me and tells me he's working and it's like 6 o'clock, he like, oh yeah, I want to be done in the next hour and a half. He'll be home at 11 p.m. at night. It's like there was no way to predict when he was ever gonna come home, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could rely on him to really help me with certain things. Not because he was doing it maliciously. It was more like he's in the OR. He has no option. So having to be the one to kind of pick up that slack and like just didn't think about it. I just didn't even think about it.
Survivable.
I just had to survive.
Yeah.
But now, at least I know his work days don't after 5. If he works past 5 o'clock, it's actually very strange.
Yeah.
Now,
And now I get to pick up the kids.
yeah.
And
So
it's amazing that I say that, but the context is in the last, my oldest daughter is almost 12. In the last almost 12 years, I don't think I've ever done that consistently. Pick up
Wow.
my own kid. I know. I
How did
know.
that
And
feel?
it feels great. It feels great. I get to pick them up and see them hop in the car, ask them how their day went, and it feels amazing. Most people that I tell that to have the exact same reaction. Usually have the eyeballs go wide, like, what? How is that even possible? But no, I almost never got off in a time that was decent enough to go pick them,
Sure.
unless I was on vacation or post call. But it was very rare, very, very rare. And
mhm.
so just the ability, I picked them up today, to say, well, at least my son, how was school? And he had
Mhm.
this big old grin and gives me a little nice note his teacher gave him. And he said to me, Daddy, you can smile. I know you're proud of me. You can smile. I mean, you can't put a price tag on that. You can't
Yeah.
put a price tag on that. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Very grateful for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
so I think for our marriage, I mean, we just have more predictability.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what we didn't have as much. It's just like to know that I could always count on him to be at home at a particular time. But now that we can, I think our marriage in itself has not changed. Our dynamic hasn't really changed in terms of like financially or whatever. It doesn't really like, it doesn't, because it hasn't changed much. I mean, it's been like,
But my availability has changed.
your availability is the only thing that's
Right.
changed, so I think.
And I think that, the stress level for her has changed. So I think it's definitely less stress for you.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And I think that in itself makes me a much healthier person. So now
I hope I'm much happier life.
I'm much happier. I'm much happier. I just don't know how I did it. I keep saying like I don't know how. I was speaking to my mom from the airport and she was talking to me about this. She's like, man, when are you going to take a month off or something? Like, don't work for a month. You never had a break all your life. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't know. Maybe one day, And now with a schedule like his, it's just, we can plan stuff better.
Right.
Before it was like,
Sure.
do you have that week off? Do I have that week off? I could only have 2 weeks off at the same time, but now with his schedule, it's just so much better.
Right.
So,
whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like we got a month off. He could just be like, I'm not working for a month. That was something I couldn't even conceptualize like a reality.
Well, fun fact, I know we were kind of dragging this question, but, she had a day off like in November, like Thanksgiving week. I'm like, okay, you have a day off in Thanksgiving week? Bet. We're going to plan a vacation.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now I'm independent. I don't have to go ask for permission. You have that time off? Okay, well, and so now I'm the fun guy. I get to book,
He's a CFO, chief fun officer.
And this is stuff.
Yeah.
Right? On top of everything else she always did, you have to plan our vacation. But now I get to plan a vacation now because I have a little more flexibility. And so, we got a nice vacation that we got planned coming up, week of Thanksgiving, and I get to be the one to be in charge of that. And so, I mean, these are the little things that obviously money can't buy. But it just definitely just stemmed from our value system, prioritizing what needs to be prioritized. Now that we're on this side.
Yeah, and this season, we don't know what next 5 years is going to look like, but with our kids and how they are and how they're growing, and we are reaching that coaching phase, but we have to be there. We want to be there to coach them through this young adulthood that they're going through. So being present for us is just more important than whatever amount of money we're making right now.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from all that is, my original question was like, what was that conversation like as you guys were trying to decide? It didn't really matter who raised their hand or who got voluntold that they're going to do it. It was just that you guys had the ability to be able to do it and that you sat down, you had that conversation, and regardless of who said yes, they'll take that change. Either way, the outcome is going to be positive for your family, for your kids, for your lifestyle, for your marriage, all of those things. I just really hope that you booked 7 for your vacation because I have a day off around Thanksgiving also. I don't even know where you're going, but I throw me in. I don't care. That's fine. But
I mean, we got to get you and your family.
I know, just get me you alone.
There you go. All right. I mean, okay, book it. Yeah, 5 more.
Why not? Why not? We're in the giving season.
Listen, we got to make it happen at some point.
There you go. Yeah, they'll fit 11 people somewhere. I'm sure they can figure it out.
Thanksgiving week, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about what it did personally for your family, what it did for your marriage. Talk to me about your decision, Dayo, to go from partner, from working in different clinics and hospitals to now being independent. For anybody else out there who's listening that has thought about it. You said you've had, people approach you to say, man, I would love to be doing what you're doing, but I can't because of what I do for the family.
Correct.
Talk to me about what your day-to-day looks like now. I know we talked offline. It's a little bit more structured. You work days, you don't work days. Talk to me about what that looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, great question. I think that number one, a lot more flexibility. So I get to plan my own schedule. But I would say there's a lot of opportunity. What I would say to the person who might be considering this, and I understand it's a lot of timidity, particularly if you're like me, it's all you've ever done, work for a company or structured situation. You don't know what is out there. But it's a lot of opportunity to do that. I think number 3, on a more pragmatic, practical basis, one of the reasons why I can do this, yes, is because my wife also works. In other words, for somebody who may not necessarily have a wife that is out there working in that case, it may be more difficult because obviously you have to think about stuff like insurance and benefits and all that good stuff. I'm certain that there are ways to go about that. But if you have a wife, it doesn't matter what she does, whether it's position, whether it's finance, if she has the ability through the human resource route to get, all the benefits for the family,
Hmm.
and that gives you that freedom to go out there and do what you need to do. And then there are other ways that some of my colleagues who are now in this space who do this full time, and they're able to get insurance for the family through going to the marketplace and all that. So there's just myriads of opportunities. And I would say that another thing, the last thing I would say is that when you work for a big group, not only do they give you all the medical benefits and all that, insurance and all that, there is a sense where you have a lot more work to do, and so you end up working a lot. And the disadvantage, I would say, is the fact that it's W-2. And so when you're a W-2 physician or a high income W-2er, if I can use that word, the taxes are just exorbitant, and I think for us, that's one thing that we recognize as well. I think, which we thought to mention, it also kind of factors our decision making was, here we are both two, for lack of a better word, high income earners in W-2 positions. And so our taxes were just insane.
Atrocious.
Yeah, insane, atrocious, whatever you want to call it. And even to this day, we look at our tax, we're like, wow, that's a lot of taxes, that we pay. And so having to be a little bit smarter about, okay, what would it look like if one of us stepped out into the market, into the independent contractor role at 1099, where we can begin to, save some money on some of the stuff that we can, we get taxed on. And so now I'm having to learn what it means to sort of document all the stuff that I'm doing, whether it's driving, gas, and all the other expenses that we can get deducted, to sort of reduce, hopefully, that tax burden. Because as W-2 income owners, the only way that not the only way, the primary way that we took advantage of reducing the tax burden was in part due of our generosity, and giving. But now we have other ways and other mechanisms in which we can do that.
Do you guys have like a donor advised fund that you've set up and a charitable giving fund, things like that you're funneling dollars through?
No, we don't have one specifically. We just kind of do like
primarily been through the church.
It's probably just for
sure.
Same one that we kind of you just allocate how much we earn, a certain percentage of that we just send it to the church.
Right.
And so it's like we have know at the end of the year how much we gave, and then we just use as a tax.
And then we have some other like non-profit organizations that we may support like on a monthly basis, and so they would oftentimes send at the end of the year how much you gave anyway, your giving statement. And so, but it's been through charitable giving, through either nonprofit organizations like churches or other causes that we support. That was the big one, but now we hope, moving forward, at least for what I'm doing, that I'll be able to recoup, some of those taxes and save some money on that.
Absolutely. Nobody likes paying taxes, even in the great state of Texas, where you guys don't have a state income tax. It still hurts being a high income earning dual household. It can get painful. Dupe, for you, what does it mean? I know in your world it's more contracted right through a hospital system. Is there an opportunity in being a breast radiologist to go independent, if that was something that later on in your guys' career, and I'm again thinking out loud, where it's now we have no W-2 employees in the house and kids are in college, and it's like, hey, we want to reduce our taxes even more. And this is just me being naive. Is there something like that in the radiologist world that you can be independent as well?
Absolutely. Actually, yes, I've met a couple of people who are just doing locums. Of course, I think with those, they can actually give you a workstation in your house so that you can work from home. But the only thing about breast imagers is we do procedures, so you have to be on site. So a lot of those people have to travel. So sometimes you have to travel to certain cities for a couple of months, weeks, or whatever. So, but there is definitely a W-2 option for 1099. I'm sorry, 1099 option for breast radiologists.
And you know what? Maybe we might just travel together. We'll take a 1099 option together.
I hope my colleagues are not hearing this. I'm not going anywhere anytime. Okay, Dayo is just speaking. At least for the next couple of years.
About when the kids are in college.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, I'm not leaving my job. It's a wonderful job.
You
Not
can see
leaving.
that glimmer in his eye there. He's like, "Ooh, I'm
Yeah,
gonna."
Yeah, maybe we
ooh,
could travel together.
no,
We could travel
no. I
together.
don't know what they've got on me and my work, but
Well,
I'm
listen,
not going
I
anywhere.
think, when the kids are in college, maybe we'll see. But that's
Yeah, for
another.
sure. I
Yeah,
think definitely
I think
down
that
the road, I
another
can't keep
10 years.
working at the same 10. Oof, I said 5. Oof. No, I honestly don't know. I'll keep going. I'm still pretty young. That's what I tell myself. So I'll see how long I can go with this. If it's going to be too stressful, if I'm doing more than my regular hours and it becomes too much of a stress in our family, I'll probably dial down a little bit if I had to go to 3 days a week, 2 days, 2.5 days a week, or something like that.
For sure.
Yeah, in the future, if I want more flexibility and more time off, that's that's potentially what may happen.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we've known each other for a while now. I've always wanted to ask you this question, and I just had to wait until the record button was hit because it's a very important question. So, you guys, your faith in God, your belief in God, and your practice of that. Anybody who watches you guys online can see that. Dayo, you said you're a lead pastor in your church. That is amazing. There are, and I'm sure you guys know this, in science, in the medical world, there's many people who don't believe in God. Right? They believe in the science of it, and there's just not that belief behind it. Why do you think your guys' belief in God is so strong? Is that just how you were raised, and how do you think that has impacted your ability to have empathy and to, I don't know, practice what you preach, I guess, for lack of a better words, within medicine and within your guys' job, having that belief so strong?
Yeah.
I think we're just we're blessed, and I think that's just the best way to put it. Is we're blessed. We have parents, and we grew up in Christian homes, and it
Hmm.
wasn't that they pretended to be Christians or they didn't believe. They lived the life, and we saw that growing up. My father's a physician; he's also a pastor, and
Hmm.
we've been in church pretty much all our lives. I mean, I don't know any other way. And so to see just even their lives and just how God has really worked everything out, even the good days and the bad days. I mean, nobody's family is perfect, nobody's perfect. But to see, I would say, the hand of God in their lives has really helped me at least to build my faith. And also as a practicing Christian, um, because of what I believe, it affects the way I treat people, how I take
Yeah.
care of my patients. When I think about their struggles and having to walk into a room to speak to a woman who potentially has breast cancer, you know, done in that idea, the fact that, man, we live in a broken world and this cancer is another evidence of that, but try to enter the room with a lot of hope and, tell them, you know what, we have treatment for this, you're going to do well, because I believe that. How I treat the staff, the technologists, the ultrasound tech, treat them with dignity and value, because just because I'm a physician doesn't mean I'm better than you. We're both of equal worth and value in the eyes of God. So that affects how I treat them. It is just all I know, and
Hmm.
I've seen. I mean, if you think about me, I'm this little girl from a small village in a small town in another continent, and overnight, my family was given a visa lottery to another country I've never really heard about, and I'm here today. You
Hmm.
know,
It's
living
amazing.
in Texas. I mean, you could call that anything, but we don't believe in luck. So there's just such. God has been very faithful to my family and to me as a whole. So the way I see life is definitely colored by my faith in God.
Yeah, I echoed everything she said, and I think that just to piggyback the last thing she said, this idea that you're just handpicked, and
Hmm.
at least so it feels. And so I think in the Christian world they call that grace,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I think that that
Hmm.
doctrine or that knowledge of grace
Hmm.
means then you're not better than anybody. You
Hmm.
were just favored by God, and I think that um, that not only impacts and informs how you treat everyone, regardless of where they work, whether they're the janitor in the room, whether they're the top CEO of the company, because they have equal dignity, but it also it informs those that don't believe either.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Because it's like whether you believe or you don't believe, you're still worth it, and you
Hmm.
still have a lot of value. Whether you believe or you don't believe, we're not here because we're better. We're here because we were just shown grace by God. And I think that ethos of grace just sort of bleeds through everything that we do, and it informs how we treat people, whether they're in the operating room or, as she pointed out, in the breast cancer, in the breast cancer center, it just informs everything. It informs everything. It colors and informs everything. And I think, one of the things that we like to say, that we want our faith and our work to be integrated in a way that demonstrates integrity. We're the same way we are in a faith space, we're the same place in the workspace, where we work and we treat people with love, with respect, with dignity, and with worth and value and compassion, and yet competence, and because we respect the fact that, we're here by the grace of God, and He's given us the privilege to serve these people. And so, but yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question.
Those were great answers. I'm not even going to follow it up with anything sarcastic or fire off another question. You guys are, I just appreciate you taking some time away to hang out with me. You're one of my favorite couples that I know. You guys are awesome in all that you do.
I'm pretty sure it does. Let's listen to the other podcasts. People know.
Go back, listen to them all.
And the other people coming after us.
We're going to listen to all 15 of them.
You guys are awesome. I'm going to end it with that. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I appreciate all that you guys do. I'm sure the people of Texas do as well. Again, all those thousands of lives you guys have impacted, you're going to impact thousands more after this. Both, in the healthcare world, but also I think within your church and your community.
We hope so.
Well, thank you so much, Nate. We really appreciate the time and the privilege to come on and talk about this. We really do.
Thank you very much. It's been exciting talking to you too.
Absolutely. See you guys. Thank you.
All right. Have a great.
Hey, everyone. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to talk about the second opinion. As most of our listeners are physicians, you guys know the importance of having another medical professional's insight for a patient's treatment plan. But have you ever considered having a second opinion on your financial plan? Or have you simply trusted your financial advisor that they've already leveraged every strategy that your family needs to be 100% on track to meet your financial goals? That's why, for my Doctors and Dollars listeners, each Wednesday I block off 3 time slots, an hour each, to provide a free second opinion of their financial plan. During this hour, we'll reevaluate your financial goals and your risk tolerance. We'll ensure tax mitigation strategies are in place, and ultimately give you confidence with your financial outlook, because that is what drives a happy home, a happy marriage, and peace of mind. These 3 spots each Wednesday do fill up fast. Send me an email at nate@grandvision.co, or head over to www.grandvision.co/second opinion to fill out a quick form about you and schedule a time for us to meet. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope the rest of your week is abundant. Cheers.